call order roll call, and then should I have them do theirs before we do minutes? I don't know what they're.
Hi, I just want to
I greeted Kathy when she came in.
Oh, yeah.
I was handing out.
And so I will open the public hearing and then the presentation.
Yeah, that's right. In case of something like that.
It did occur to me,
Okay, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I think it's 7 o'clock now. I'll call this meeting order for the town board, Town of Dunn, for Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Welcome to the Town of Dunn. We have a nice spring evening. I know some of us probably wouldn't want to be in the town hall tonight. We have other things we'd rather do, but appreciate you showing up and welcome. So we'll do call order, which I just did, and roll call, and then turn to you if you want to open up your, Stephanie. So roll call. Jeff Hodgson.
Here.
Raz Gausman.
Here.
And Chair Steve Greb here.
It's 7:01 and I'll bring the village board meeting to order of Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. I'll do a call to order. I'll do a roll call for Andrew. Do you want to?
Sure. Annan.
Here.
Boyd. Here. Resident.
Here.
Ressler. Here. Weenie.
Here.
Benyon.
Here.
Brill.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you.
Our next item is approval of the minutes from the January 29th, 2025 joint meeting between the Town of Dunn and Village of McFarland. You should have received them. And again, I'm not sure if there's an order here, but we approve these separately, or do you have
Separately.
copies? Right. So is there,
I move approval of the minutes of January 29th of the town board.
Second.
okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Those minutes are so approved.
And I will, same thing, minutes of the January 29th, 2025 joint Town of Dunn Village Board of Trustees meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. On to tonight's business, which is the purpose of tonight's meeting, is a public hearing on a proposed boundary agreement between the Town of Dunn and the Village of McFarland. So at this point, I'll open the public hearing. Before we hear from folks, we're going to have a presentation, or I guess a tag team presentation similar to what we had seen before, to give people who haven't seen it prior to tonight, just kind of get them up to speed on where we're at with this. So I'll turn it over to, I'm not sure who starts or.
Do you want to open ours too? Just to,
I will open the public hearing.
Okay, are you doing slides?
Eric is going to help advance the slides
Okay.
for us because we don't have a remote. So he
All right.
will try to keep up with you.
No problem. All right. Thanks, everyone. If you attended the public information meeting on April 16th, you're going to hear the same information tonight during the public hearing. Just to introduce myself for those that aren't familiar with who I am, my name is Andrew Brummer. I'm the Community and Economic Development Director for the Village of McFarland. Kathy, do you want to introduce yourself?
All right, and I'm Kathy Haslinger. I'm the Clerk Treasurer and Business Manager with the Town of Dunn. And
Okay, just in terms of what we plan to go over, we'll talk about the project purpose and need, the benefits to cooperative boundary plans, an overview of our existing agreement, which expires at the end of this year, an overview of our proposed agreement, and what the general state requirements are for the process to adopt a new agreement, and our remaining schedule. There's no action by either boards on the agreement tonight, and after the public hearing is closed, they'll be scheduling their next joint meeting to consider resolutions to approve the agreement. So the first map is just really informational, but just to show the boundaries of the two communities. McFarland up on the top there, and Dunn taking up the middle large part of the screen here. So the boundary agreement has a lot of exhibits in it and a lot of required maps that the state asked us to put together when we're putting together a cooperative boundary plan. Okay, so project purpose and need. So in 2005, the village and town entered into a cooperative boundary agreement. The impetus for that agreement was related to a potential annexation of some property south of the Yahara River along Highway 51. And our agreement terminates at the end of this year. And both the town board and the village board have expressed mutual interest in developing a new boundary agreement. I think I stole your thunder with that slide.
That's all right.
You can go from there.
Okay, so the cooperative boundary agreements are regulated under section 660307 of the Wisconsin statutes. And under that statute, the cooperative boundary agreements must be a minimum of 10 years. And the proposed agreement would run through December 31st of 2055, so up to 30 years for the new agreement. The proposed agreement, so some of the benefits are it avoids disputes and potential litigation regarding future annexation petitions. It focuses on our shared values, some points of agreement, and solutions that can benefit everyone. It allows both communities to proactively guide their future with the certainty of understanding the long-term boundaries. The plan can identify service sharing opportunities and avoid some costly duplication of services and capital facilities in certain cases. And it provides flexibility to creatively craft solutions that benefit both the town and the village that would not be possible without a cooperative plan.
Okay, just a couple of highlights from the existing boundary agreement, again, that was approved in 2005. So the first area we'll look at is an area called the no annexation buffer area. So if you want to go to the next slide, you can see the map of that. So that's basically everything south of the Yahara River and between Lake Wabisa and Lower Mud Lake and north of Mahoney Road. So within that shaded area there on the map, the village is prohibited from approving any property owner requests for annexing property through the term of the agreement, which is December 31st, 2025. On the east side growth area of the village, the town is prohibited from purchasing conservation easements north of the Yahara River and within what was the village's then 2008 east side growth area plan. And the town is also prohibited from opposing valid annexation petitions in this area. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see a map of the village's east side planning area from 2008 for that portion that was in the town of Dunn. And that has since changed, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then two areas where we have a service agreement. One is the Exchange Street Bridge over the Yahara River. So currently the town and the village share equally in the cost for inspecting that bridge and to maintain that bridge. And then on Hidden Farm Road, which is a road that's within the town, the village maintains the road up to Orchard Hill Park, the entrance to the park. And then the town agrees to transfer state road aids for the portion maintained by the village. And then from there south, that portion is maintained by the town.
All right, so now we get into some information about the 2025 boundary agreement highlights. So thus far, we've been giving you an update on what was in the 2005 agreement. So the Exchange Street Bridge, really there are no substantial changes. The village and the town will continue to share responsibility for that bridge. And Hidden Farm Road, again, no changes. The town will transfer its road aids for the road maintenance that the village is doing on Hidden Farm Road. So our protected area in the 2025 boundary agreement expands that no annexation buffer area to include all the land in the town of Dunn south of the Yahira River. And the next slide will show a map of that. I think the village is prohibited from approving property owner requests for annexation of property south of the Yahira River through December 31st, 2055, with the exception of a specific Highway 51 growth area. So the next slide shows this area, so our area south of the river. So that's the no annexation area, all territory south and west of the center line of the Yahira River between Lake Wabisa and Lake Kigansa, excepting those lands that will be in the growth area. All right, our Highway 51 growth area, beginning January 1st, 2037, the village may approve annexation petitions for certain lands south of the Yahira River along US Highway 51. The town is prohibited from opposing valid annexation petitions in this area, and the town's prohibited from purchasing conservation easements without prior consent of the village board. The town agrees not to make amendments to its comprehensive plan that would allow for residential or commercial development or land divisions in excess of the land division or development rights in existence as of 1979 under the town's land division allocation policy. So the next slide shows a picture of that area. And so the town essentially here is agreeing not to increase any development in that area.
Okay, the new revised eastern expansion area. So the town is prohibited from purchasing conservation easements north of the Yahira River and within the village's 2023 East Side Growth Area Plan. The town is also prohibited from opposing valid annexation petitions in this area, so again, very similar to the existing agreement. And similar to the Highway 51 growth area, the town agrees not to make amendments to its comprehensive plan that would allow for residential, commercial development or land divisions in excess of those land division or development rights in existence as of the town's 1979 land division allocation policy. In areas that are outside of the protected area or the eastern expansion area, the village agrees not to annex properties unless the petition is signed by all the owners and electors residing on the private property included in the annexation. So in other words, a unanimous consent annexation. And this primarily applies to lands that are north and east of the Yahira River, but outside of the 2023 East Side Neighborhood Plan. So this map is the village's eastern expansion area in orange crosshatch here. It does include areas that are outside of the town of Dunn. Includes some areas in the town of Green Grove, City of Madison, town of Cottage Grove, and a little bit of the town of Pleasant Springs. Includes some other areas that are not within the town, but are not part of this movement.
All right. The 2025 boundary agreement also includes some language about town islands. So the town is agreeing to allow the creation of town islands through an annexation process in the areas shown on the next map. So we can go ahead and look at that next map. So a town island would be something created if a property owner who lived in the town of Dunn had properties around them annexed into the village, and they would become disconnected then from the town because their neighbors would have annexed. So that's what we mean when we talk about a town island. And our boundary agreement addresses that to make sure that those folks who wish to remain in the town of Dunn and don't wish to be annexed together with their neighbors have that option of staying with the town a little longer. So our language allows the village the discretion to consider annexation petitions that might create a town island if the owners and electors of these properties did not want to join that annexation petition from their neighbor. The town islands are not allowed under the state annexation laws unless previously agreed to in a cooperative boundary agreement. And if any of the 6 parcels that could possibly become an island haven't annexed by the termination date of the agreement, and they are still a town island, they would be automatically annexed to the village not later than March 1st of 2050. This does not preclude that any of these 6 properties could be included in a 1/2 annexation petition without the property's owners and electors' consent. And it creates greater flexibility for the person petitioning for an annexation to leave non-consenting properties out of their proposed annexation petition. So it provides a little flexibility and some stability for those wishing to remain in the town. All right. Then we also address a town-owned property in the village in our 2025 boundary agreement. So we've got 2 statements here. One is that the village shall not annex village-owned property located in the town unless it is contiguous to the village or is included in an annexation of other lands that will create continuity upon enactment of the annexation ordinance and is otherwise in compliance with this plan, and no such properties currently exist. So if in the future the village were to own some property in the town of Dunn, they would not annex to it unless it was contiguous. And then the town agrees to sell a parcel on the corner of Sleepy Hollow and Exchange to the village for $1. The village agrees to add the parcel to its park system and to prohibit motorized boat access from this parcel. So this is a parcel that we believe was maybe a remnant from a prior annexation. So the Sleepy Hollow Road is part of the village of McFarland. And when that area was annexed, there's this remaining parcel that was not annexed with the rest, that is Town of Dunn owned. And the town has not been maintaining this parcel. We have not been, mowing it or treating it as a park. And the village would like to maintain this parcel for public access and as a park. And so during our conversations, it was decided that since it is a public park for the town of Dunn and a public park for the village of McFarland, it should just be transferred to the village. And that transfer would be for $1.
Okay, the agreement includes a number of potential future pedestrian and bicycle improvements within right-of-way within the town. So the town agrees to allow the village to construct sidewalks and trails or paths in the right-of-way in some of the exhibits that we'll see in a moment. Only the area along the east side of Highway 51 from Exchange Street to Babcock Park is currently planned for construction as part of the DOT's reconstruction of Highway 51. And the village agrees that where it does want to add these sidewalks, trails, or paths, that the cost to design, construct, and maintain those while they're in the town right-of-way would be an expense of the village. So the first one here, we see the planned route from basically the bridge to Exchange Street on the south that the DOT is planning. It may not go all the way up to the bridge, but basically through that corridor of right-of-way, the village would be able to, with the DOT, put that in and then maintain that in the future. Then the village desires at some point in the future to be able to connect from that trail into the village. We don't know what the exact route would be on what side of Exchange Street, either the left or the right side of the road, but we would need to design that in the future, and then that would connect into the existing sidewalk on Exchange Street over the bridge, and then to the rest of the village sidewalk and trail system. The next one is on County Highway AB. On the very south end of this map is Elvium Road, and on the very top end is County Highway MN. So there is a portion of this roadway that is within the village already, sort of in the middle part, and a little bit on the south side, and there's some that still remain in the town. The village has put in some trail along the west side of AB already, basically from this location here up to that corner there. And in the future, would like to potentially have a trail along the whole entire right-of-way from Elmium up to MN. And so this would provide that opportunity. The next slide then goes from County Highway AB west along MN, otherwise known as Broadhead Street in the village. And then again, no designation on what side of the road or both that trail sidewalk path may be in the future. But the goal then again is to connect and form a loop back into existing trails and sidewalks in the village. And again, this is one of those areas where there could be potential for town islands. So for example, on this north side of the map here, on the north side of MN, this area is in the village, these parcels are not. So if this were to develop and have a path or a sidewalk, we wouldn't want to see it end here and then pick up here with a gap. And so basically the agreement allows the village, if those parcels are still in the town, to be able to design and construct and that sidewalk or trail or path to them.
All right, and the cooperative boundary agreement plan process is outlined on this slide. It might be a little hard to see there in the back, but it is a process that has several steps. So we began by adopting resolutions on January 29th, 2025, both the town and the village. The municipalities held a joint public hearing tonight, and this is April 29th, 2025. And then it would move on from this stage to the municipalities doing a vote for adoption. The plan would then be sent to the Department of Administration for review, and that review process can take a while as well. So the petition period, the town and the village boards must wait at least 30 days after the public hearing tonight to vote for adoption of this agreement. So it would be no sooner than May 29th, 2025. If either the town or the village receives a valid petition equal to at least 10% of the votes cast for governor in the last gubernatorial election, then the adoption of the agreement by the petition receiving government requires 3/4 of the members of that board who are present and voting. So in the town, a petition circulated that got 314 signatures could require that supermajority, or in the village, 531 signatures on a petition could require that majority. The advisory referendum period. The town and the village must then wait an additional 30 days thereafter before submitting the agreement to the Wisconsin Department of Administration for approval. That would be no sooner than June 28th, 2025. If either the town or the village receives a petition equal to at least 10% of the votes cast for governor in the last gubernatorial election, then that receiving government must hold an advisory referendum not less than 70 days or more than 100 days after the receipt of a valid petition. If an advisory referendum is held, the town and village boards will have to separately vote by resolution whether to submit the final version of the agreement to the Wisconsin Department of Administration for approval. The vote must occur within 60 days of the last referendum held. And then we get to the Wisconsin Department of Administration approval. If no advisory referendum is held, the town and village must submit the approved agreement within 60 to 180 days from the date of the joint public hearing, which is tonight, so June 28th to October 26th of 2025. The DOA has 90 days from the receipt of the agreement to make a written determination of whether or not they will approve the agreement. All right, and I think we're getting to the public input portion of our agenda tonight. And we can go back and show slides and answer questions on anything that you'd like to hear.
Okay, thank you. It was good. Appreciate it. And before we started, can everybody hear okay, or we can close the window if the traffic's too loud out there, or whatever you think, sitting in the back. But now we'll open it up for questions, comments, opinions? I guess all I would ask is you state your name and address, and if you have spoken already, give other folks a chance to ask a question before asking another question. And I don't know if McFarland, you okay facing this way, or did you want to turn around, or?
And you can come around the table
Come around
now,
the
so if you want
side,
to slide your chairs down this way and this way you can.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah, just come on.
There's more chairs over here.
Okay, great.
So we'll open it up to the floor. Questions, comments, thoughts? Sure, Patrick.
Hi, Patrick Miles, 5410 North Pass, McFarland, also County Board Supervisor for the area. If you could take the slides back to, I think it was the first slide of the 2025 agreement.
That's too far.
No, I'm looking for the
2025.
parameters of the agreement.
Get there. There we go, that's where it's starting.
Also note that I was on the negotiating committee with Ed Minahan. I was on the village board when we negotiated the agreement that's coming to So, let's go forward one more slide. Here, the second bullet point there, village is prohibited from approving owner requests for annexation, with the exception of Highway 51 growth area. Can you explain the Highway 51 growth area? Is that growth of the
Yeah.
highway itself, or is it?
Yeah, let's
is it-
advance to that slide and then, yeah, maybe you want to explain that one. One more.
Yep. There we go.
There
Here.
it is.
So everything in pink, if you can see the color from there, is the Highway 51 growth area. So, beginning January 1st of 2037, the village could accept an annexation petition from property owners in this area and consider it for approval. It still has to meet state requirements for an annexation petition, meaning it has to be contiguous to the village boundary. So it can't be a little island pocket of some parcel over here. So it has to be contiguous. On this map, the darker black line that follows the center line of the river is the current village boundary.
Just a kind of subtle nuance thing. The river itself, the river bottom is owned by the state of Wisconsin. So you still consider it a boundary. I mean, it's a solid point, but is there actually a gap between our boundaries there?
No, it's basically when you have an annexation petition involving a waterway, usually would go to the center line of the waterway, similar as it would kind of treat right of way. Oftentimes it's to the center line of the right of way. But it does depend on how that person who's annexing has drawn that boundary, how their surveyor has drawn it. Sometimes they might, in the case of a road or right of way, they might draw it to the center line. In other cases, they might draw it to include the full width of the right of way. It can vary based on the circumstances of the particular petition. In this particular area, we would anticipate and expect that it would be to the center line, to wherever the existing boundary of the village is, so that it is contiguous.
That doesn't change the public doctrine that waterways are
Yeah,
waterways.
right.
Yes, correct.
Other questions?
Comments, opinions?
If you want to register in support or in opposition, anything like that.
I have a question. On those,
Islands, the town islands, where they have the right to put the bike path or whatever in front of those in the town right of way, can those town of Dunn properties, would they be assessed for those improvements then? Or,
No. If those properties are in the town at the time that those are installed, those would be in the right of way. It would be a village expense to design them, construct them, and maintain them. In the future, if they are then subsequently brought into the village, and in the case of a sidewalk, in the village, residents are expected to maintain the sidewalk in front of their property. But we can't enforce that if the property is still in the town, only if it's in the village at that point.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Was there a hand up in the back? Yes.
Fieldstone, 35 Rutland Dunn, Town Line Road. So my understanding is that there are 2 growth areas allowed for McFarland, is that correct? One on the east side and one on the northern end of the town of Dunn?
Correct.
Is that correct? So if we're looking at this great big piece of the town of Dunn, conceivably all of that could be swallowed up by McFarland.
No, if we go back to, so this is the only area in pink, starting in 2737, that the village could potentially approve any annexation petitions that are brought forward by the property owners. But if we go back a couple slides to the first map, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
The full map that shows both.
The full map.
views,
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll try to illustrate on this larger map, but essentially that Highway 51 growth area is just in this little pocket right here. In the village's east side growth area, I need longer arms, is this area in here, right about to here. And then everything that is on that side of water is a area that the village is restricted from annexing, except for that little pocket there starting in 2037, until this new agreement would expire, which would be at the end of 2055. And then for areas that are in this side of water, and that happen to be outside of our 2023 East Side Neighborhood Plan. In those areas, the village would need a unanimous consent petition. That means all of the electors and property owners have signed the petition. If it's on that side of the water and it's not in the east side growth area.
So in other words, I'm sorry, just to clarify, in other words, the only places that could be town islands is in the east side growth area.
Correct.
Patrick, what did you say?
The only place town islands could be created is in the east side growth area. Not in the 51 growth areas.
Other questions? Comments? Register for, against? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jim Hickey and I really have no concept of a lot of this, so these questions might be dumb. But I learned in school, no.
Could you get your
questions
address
dumb.
quickly?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I gotta remember that. Yeah, 2401 Evans Road. Hey, the question I have is, along Camp Leonard there, that one slide you have, Camp Leonard Road, you got the pink, right? That other area, is that town of Dunn now?
Yeah, it is.
And it would remain town of Dunn?
51 growth area.
ultimately, or?
There you go, right there.
Yeah, so that green little slot above Tower Road, would that be your Biocamp Road? Camp Leonard Road and all that, is that
Yeah.
all currently Town of Dunn, right?
Correct.
And that would remain in the Town of Dunn?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, just curious.
Yep. Those are all the mostly developed areas along Lake Wabisa
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that would remain in the
would,
Town of Dunn?
would stay in. That's not in the part that is
Yeah, I got it.
for future growth.
Yeah, yeah. And then the whole annexation thing, you know, let's say someone, go through how that would work, like in a Town of Dunn. Let's just give an example of, let's see, Tower Road. Shoot. Goes all the way out to Tower. So let's say that farmer, I don't know the guy's name, his wife. He has all those boats, you know, he does the piers, and he recently passed away.
Gene Allen?
Yes, thank you. Just using him, because that's the only, like, so he could petition to go to the, the village, right?
He's not adjacent to the village.
So he can't,
I don't think,
It has to be contiguous.
has to be contiguous. So
Yeah.
whoever wants to do this has to literally have a border now with that area there. Okay, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah, so there's a stepwise progression. We
Sure,
don't want this
sure. Or
patchwork.
someone could just put it all together. Got it. Thank you.
Sure,
And
good
then
question.
we have a question from Jackie Hammond on Zoom. Jackie, can you hear us? Yes.
An address for Jackie Hammond?
Jackie, what's your address?
Yep, it's 6060 Perot Place, Perrot in McFarland.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So my question is about traffic. With all of the growth for McFarland going to the east and southeast, the two roads that can handle any traffic to 51 are one rustic road with a one-way bridge, Dearson Road, and AB to the roundabout, which is a lake road, 30 miles an hour. So, in all the things that we're reading about growth, we're supposed to grow where the highway is. We're supposed to grow where the roads are, not out in the middle of the farm fields, because transportation matters. So why are we growing to the east, knowing there's only two roads, east-west, between 51 and the east side of our village, because of the lakes? Thank you.
Did everyone hear that? So basically the question is regarding traffic. There's only two roads that are primarily accessible in the area, one being Rustic Road, Dearson Road, that has the one-way bridge, and then the other is County Highway AB, which is 35 miles an hour. So with the growth areas, how is traffic going to be handled, and is there any other additional, I guess, routes planned?
So I'll address that since the question's related to the village's 2023 East Side Neighborhood Plan, more so than maybe the specifics of the boundary agreement. But the East Side Neighborhood Plan does have areas projected for future growth of various land uses and conceptual roads to serve those new development areas. That includes existing new local roads, or new collector roads. There's currently, within that area, to go east-west, there's 3 primary collector roads: Albion Road, County Highway MN or Broadhead, and Sigoko Road. The spacing of those is basically what you would come to expect from how typically urban streets are platted, meaning your collector streets, you're gonna have local streets, you're gonna have more of those feed into collector streets. that funnel traffic then to arterial streets such as 51 or the interstate. And so you have a lot of local streets, you have a few more collector streets, and you have just a couple arterials. And that's the way that the hierarchy of typical road design works. So there are roads that can accommodate east-west traffic for future development in the east side plan, going either direction.
Did she hear that?
Well, that didn't really answer my question. I'm talking about to the south. If you're going to the high school, the middle school, or the elementary school, you have to go through the one four-way stop that's in the middle of our village because of lakes and marshes. The only road that goes into town from the south or the east is Albion and Creamery Road. All of those cars, there's no other southern road to get through except AB and Dearson Road. Our village is locked by the marsh and the water. If we grow to the southeast, will Dearson and AB be able to handle the traffic?
So the portion of the village east side 2023 east side plan that is south of Albion Road only goes down about 1 to 240s. So it doesn't go all the way down to Dearson Road. It's not, in my opinion, that large of a particular area. And whether or not traffic would decide to go down Dearson Road or not, that's an individual choice. My hunch is that they would drive north and use Albion Road, but maybe perhaps they would decide to take an alternative route depending on where they were trying to go.
I mean, I understand you're saying it's a small amount of land, but we're talking right now about 170 apartments that are being proposed, and all those people, if they work to the south, road, and I just think the town of Gun residents that live there should know that.
Okay, anything else on that? Or, appreciate your comments. Anything else from the board on that? Otherwise, is there anything else online, Kelsey? Or from the audience here? Yes, sir.
Hey, can you go back that slide about that park along the river? I'm just kind of curious where that is.
Sleepy Hollow.
What's it called?
It's called Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah, Sleepy Hollow, yeah.
It's right over the Exchange Street Bridge. So if you're past the Toddle Inn
Yep.
and you go over the Exchange Street Bridge, it's right on the right there. It's just
Right.
a tiny little piece of land.
Next to that real tall house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
And
very narrow.
it's currently like kept up by all the neighbors.
Got it.
You know, that's my neighborhood, so
Oh,
we all keep
cool.
it up, and we have chairs there that people can
Oh, yeah.
sit at, and then people fish there, and people put their kayaks in there.
Do they catch fish?
Yes, yes. Don't you see the kids on the bridge? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Stuart Carroll, Dallas Avenue, Madison, Wisconsin. And as I give a little bit of background, but I'm not going to talk very long. Our family bought into the farm on Highway 51 in 1959, 200 acres. And in the late 60s, the septic systems along the south end of Baker and Bago were failing, and the town needed to create a sanitary district to serve that area. But it didn't have enough land to fund the bonds that needed to be created to get the federal money to pay for the startup of the sanitary district. They didn't have enough land without our 200 acres, so we were the biggest developer, biggest landowner in the sanitary district, and we agreed to come in with the expectation that we'd be allowed to develop. And that was a couple of years after we joined. We were told we could never do that. So with that background, I'm against creating, extending any prohibition on development even for 12 years. But I think in addition to that, the village is also making it a little bit difficult for themselves, or risky for themselves, because as Mr. Hickey pointed out, you have to be adjacent, and our property basically goes across anything that connects with the village. So if we want to get into the village, but if we sell to somebody who doesn't, it'll be much harder for the village to use any of that land south of us. Especially because they're not taking, they're agreeing not to take any of the land on the lake shore, on Lake Winnebago. So I think with that risk, you're also counting on the city not trying to block you by annexing, City of Madison, by annexing east of you. So I think those are reasons not to adopt this.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Anything online, Kelsey?
No, no.
So going once, going twice?
I was just thinking about, I'm sorry, but, Jackie Hammond's comment. I think inherent in part of her statement and question was, why isn't development directed, or future near-term development or annexations focused more towards the Highway 51 corridor rather than the east, where there'd be this added pressure to the roads that way? I just wanted to provide historical context in addition to the stone I just mentioned. When we came to the agreement in the early 2000s, the rationale for protecting the village's east side growth area is that the city of Madison was being pretty aggressive growing eastward, and I, as a village board member, was concerned about us getting I was seeking to protect our growth area in that area. The other reason for going that way and not going south, a couple main reasons. One, it was Ed's and town's view at the time that farmland preservation is a high priority here. Those are some pretty productive soils in this area, south of the Yahara. Also, the idea of annexing and developing south of the Yahara seemed like a really, from a development standpoint and for the village's standpoint, extending services south of the Yahara is a very expensive notion. So those are a couple reasons for the rationale not to go south of the Yahara and why we're focusing on the east side. It seems like that's still a part.
Right. Thanks for that perspective. I do remember that now. Okay. Appreciate it.
I'm just, Jim Hickey, 2401 Empress Road. I'm just kind of curious, do you have any reaction to what Mr. Miles just said? I mean, any thoughts? I mean, village, what do you call it? Village, town, any thoughts? I mean, I'm just kind of curious. Discussion? No one has a thought on that. How about a parking lot conversation? No? I'm just, no? Everyone remembers that a little bit. I mean, some of you must, right?
What specifically are you referring to?
Well, kind of his perspective on why, if I got it right, they looked south as opposed to east, and why maybe we aren't looking, or whomever isn't looking east as opposed to south. And again, I have no stake in it other than it's a good diversion from what's going on at the federal level. So, I'm just curious. No one has any. Okay. Yeah, fine.
Well, are you talking about there was an annexation petition back in the early 2000s to go south that didn't get approved?
Well, I remember that, and it was all kind of knit together, and it didn't go, and I remember that. But yeah, and then
So there
but
was
it sounds like that decision was a little bit you didn't want to go east, or they were afraid to go east, or not afraid, but the decision was to go,
So
The
the
decision was to go
annexation
east.
petition back in the early 2000s was brought forward by the property owners. And
Right,
there was
yeah.
a lot of opposition amongst people who lived in the village
Yeah.
and then also from the town, and it didn't end up moving forward. But that wasn't brought forward by the village. The village didn't like
Right,
look at their, overall regional planning and say, this is a great place to go. It was brought to them by the property owners, and they had to evaluate it on its merits and
I remember
decide.
that, yeah. But maybe I got it wrong. I mean, when you evaluated it, I mean, Patrick, I guess what I'm wondering is, was there kind of an interest or perspective of the benefits back then of going east, but for whatever reason they didn't, because it would be more expensive to go south. And I understand it was all property owner driven, not either one of you guys, the village or the board.
Not sure I'm understanding your question. The focus was on protecting and making, preserving the village's ability to grow eastward
Right.
by considering annexations that direction, but not southward.
Right.
Is that-
Yeah, that's what you said, Rick. I mean, yeah, so is it now like you're, I don't know, maybe
This,
not.
this plan sort of preserves that, takes that, carries that forward at least for 12 years.
Right.
As far as south of the harvest is
Right, okay, yeah, I got that. Okay.
Anything else? Other questions?
So I'm new on the board, Ken Boyd, Signal Corps Road, McFarland. So I'm trying to understand, you seem to be looking for a strong reaction from some of us on the village board, and I'm not sure whether it's like we should be for annexation or against it, or you were really eliciting a response from us, and you were disappointed that you
Yeah, I
weren't
guess
getting
I
that.
thought there'd be a little discussion, and again, I'm an Irishman, we probably look for a little excitement, but, you know what I mean? I
just wanted
no,
to
I'm not looking
understand
to,
better, like what you really were wanting us
Just-
to look closer at or respond to.
I don't know, I just thought there'd be some level of discussion,
Right.
I guess maybe I should go to more meetings.
Well,
Yeah, I
just-
think we
just-
talked about it a lot in January together,
Yeah.
answered a lot of
It's all
the
right.
questions
Several
between
months.
each other.
Yeah,
But
fine, you don't have to feel bad, I just,
Mr. Hickey, so it seems to me that your question was in regards to the gentleman's statement that we are not taking into account all the land that is in possession, and that's why he's in opposition. Is that where you're going, and why we're not taking into account why we're not expanding to take advantage of that land and allow him to develop?
sadly not. I mean, I don't know, I just thought there'd be a little more discussion. It's okay, no
Yeah.
problem, and again,
All right.
I'm happy where I live, and it's great to be in the town of Dunn, and the village would be wonderful.
A quick question, Andrew, from a process perspective, because I am curious about that property or the statement. I need to see it, to understand, and I appreciate the background. From a process perspective, are we gonna be able to get some information on that, ask some questions, or is this the last time that we could talk about that before we go into the approval?
Yeah, I can, if you want to put the US Highway 51 growth area, I'll try to address your question. Broadly speaking, no, for the boards, the next meeting that you'll have, we'll have opportunity to further discuss the agreement before you vote on a resolution to approve it.
Okay.
So this isn't the last time for board members to ask questions of each other or of staff. So again, the area in pink here is the US Highway 51 growth area. Again, it's an area beginning on January 1st, 2037 that the village could consider annexation petitions from property owners. Those annexation petitions have to meet state statute, so that could either be a unanimous consent, all the electors, all of the property owners have signed it, or it's by 1/2 approval, or at least a majority of them have. And it also has to be contiguous to the village boundary. So, beginning in 2037, a property owner or property owners could decide that, yes, at this point we would like to petition the village to annex. And they would need to meet those criteria. It's got to be contiguous, and you need to at least have a majority of the electors and property owners sign the petition. And then from there, the village evaluates the petition based on its merits and its characteristics of what's being proposed and why at that time. And it's also reviewed by the Department of Administration. So it goes through the same process it would
I get that,
anyways.
but we're talking about 200 acres, right? Can we highlight or
Is
can
it in
you
Madison? Did you
show
say?
us like where all this is? Like, because I'm assuming that were we aware of all that land that, that the owner wants to be part of the village? Did we take that into consideration?
Where is
And
it?
kind of where that falls in the map?
Sure.
Trying to understand.
So I probably won't get Mr. Hero's properties all correct, but
I might not either.
that's fair. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's here. There's a little one here. It's here, here, and I think two of these. What's
You
that?
have to go further north.
That one,
Yeah.
and then the one just south to it, I think.
So what was the,
And the one west
Over here.
pond, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's part of this parcel, but maybe. So it's these, and then some in here. A lot of this in here is wetland and floodplain.
yeah.
For people that are familiar with the area.
So before
And this
he
is
could
51.
before he could annexate, even in 2037, all these properties in
Oh,
Exchange
there.
Street area would have to be annexed to the village before he can even be able to request.
No.
property's already adjacent?
It's already adjacent. So not necessarily.
Okay.
There's a lot of, I mean, we could play a lot of what ifs. Well, if you take this parcel and this parcel and this parcel, could you get connectivity? But in terms of their property, because that was your specific question, because they border our boundary right now.
Mhm.
They, not now because of the current agreement, but they wouldn't need other property owners to sign a petition to annex at least these properties here, because it would be contiguous. And I guess there's continuity over here to here. So hypothetically, those could annex, and hypothetically, those could remain in the town because they're connected via north of Bible Camp all the way down to the Creek Tunnel.
So what's the reasoning of 2037?
Thank you.
Right, that's my
Yep.
question too.
So the reason behind 2037, it's a couple things. One, the village, just like the town, we both have comprehensive land use plans, and they're both required to be updated every 10 years. Our last one that we updated was in 2017. We'll update it again in 2026, 2027. The next one thereafter is going to be 2036, 2037. Now, in our current comprehensive plan, because it's in a boundary agreement now, all of this area that we're looking at is either whatever the existing use is. If it's a single family home, it's single family residential. If it's ag land, it's future land use classification in the village plan is ag preservation. Or if it's wetland, it's environmental corridor. So we don't have different land use envisioned yet for these areas. And so what we're doing is saying okay, we know starting in 2037 we could get petitions. That creates some runway for the village to plan for that area in the years before 2037. So it might be done either as a separate project or it would be done as part of the whole village update to the comprehensive plan. Either one we don't know yet. That was one reason why we targeted 2037. The other was just in conversations with representatives of the town and the village. Our existing agreement right now is 20 years. This one proposed is 30 years. There was some give and take on some various aspects of the agreement. And so we kind of coalesced in this area around 2037. So basically adding 12 more years to the current restriction in the current agreement.
I guess for the town, is there a reason to have that 2037 other than our land cycles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
We'd prefer 2055.
right. I mean,
You have to keep the tax revenue at home.
we're coming at this from a whole different angle,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
right.
We're compromising.
And it's not a lot of tax revenue. I think I heard that comment. It's agricultural land, but it's also incredible, there's conservation values there. There really are. With the wetlands in the area and the proximity to the river, that would be our concern. And I think it was the concern of the village residents when the original annexation petition was defeated was, let's develop where we should be developing, and let's take a look at the assets that we have as a broader community. So I think it was really looking at, and this whole boundary agreement exercise has been really hard, I think, for both sides to look at the regional concerns, for us to understand the village's need to grow, the village to understand the town's, concerns about conservation. And I think, that kind of captures all of those conflicts. It's really a special area to the village. It's also a special area to the town of Dunn. And really evaluating where, do we need to have the development, where should the housing units go, and, talking those things over. So that's an area we wanted to protect.
But I think we should also respect the owner of the property as well. His hands are tied behind his back. It's his property. He can't do anything with it other than pay the taxes on it. Is that really fair?
Well, when you buy ag land, you better own a pair of boots, they say, right? I mean, that's what the land.
Bought in 1959.
As
Yeah.
ag
So,
land.
As ag land,
Yeah.
right.
I have my hand up, but I.
Yeah, sorry, I see that. I didn't want to interject. So Jackie Hammond has another comment or question.
My comment is, because I know Mr. Hickey very well, and I do understand what he is saying. Sorry, the person on the camera is putting their hand in my face, and I'm looking at the ceiling. I don't know what's going on.
I was trying
Anyway.
to project your voice over the laptop.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to turn up the volume.
It's fine, you can do that, I just didn't know what was happening. Go ahead and do that. So I do know Mr. Hickey very well, and what I would point out is, the meetings that you guys had in January weren't public, were they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that one meeting discussed everything? That was it?
Oh, we've been meeting for over a year or more.
Yep.
Committee.
So there was a group of staff and a couple representatives from both communities that met to put together the framework of what this agreement would look like. So some of the key points, and then both the village attorney and the town attorney then worked with staff to put the cover-to-cover agreement together. And the village and town then had the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission create the exhibits that we needed, and then we brought that forward to the joint meeting in January to pass the authorization resolutions, and then from there, 2 weeks ago, we held the public involvement information meeting and tonight's public hearing, and we'll have at least one more meeting to discuss the agreement before it's adopted.
So I think what I or Mr. Hickey thought is there would be more public conversation.
Well, I would say the purpose of the public hearing is for the town board and the village board to hear comments and questions about the proposed agreement from residents of the two communities. That's the purpose of what we're doing here tonight.
And this is the second such public hearing.
It's the first official public hearing, but as a lead up to tonight, 2 weeks ago, we held a public information meeting and gave the same presentation that we gave tonight, the summary of the agreement.
Yes, I do understand what you're saying. All I'm saying is, and maybe I'm wrong, but I might be feeling what Mr. Hickey's feeling, which is that all of the discussion that the two boards have had around this, like where could we see that recorded?
So
Where are the discussion?
true, but there are some, you know, negotiations that aren't necessarily public while they're happening, and they're made public at events like this. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes complete sense as to why you guys don't have to discuss this. The decisions were already made.
I don't
That they
think
were
so.
made not publicly.
At least on the town of Dunn's, George Corrigan from Town Dunn, at least on the town of Dunn side, we only had one town board member at any of those meetings until it was a public meeting. And then I think on McFarland's side, there were three village board members, so there was never enough board members or town board members to ever make a decision, but it was trying to get something together that could be decided upon.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Richard Gishwine, 2913 Camp Leonard. Just as an aside, this is my third public meeting, so I think we've had ample opportunity, maybe not for input, but to learn the process and how things are going. I would also like to endorse for the U.S. for the 51 growth area. I think 2055 is a good date. I recognize what the gentleman's saying about, you know, someone's land, they should be able to do with it, but I think Town of Dunn has really done an excellent job with the conservation efforts in this corridor. And I think about the approach to Stoughton, car lots, the sports bars, the apartments. There's a certain flavor that the Town of Dunn has done an outstanding job keeping. I think the 2055 would be a fair date for that growth area aspiration.
Okay, thank you for that. So we're gonna go to in the back there.
I'm Patty Calloway, and I live on Lake Egansi Road. And I always used to say that Stoughton was 3 miles away. Now it's 1 mile away. I've been in this township since the mid-70s, and I've been aware of the struggle that our town has gone through to preserve what we found when we came here. And let's that not be forgotten. To open the door for the option for people who buy this land in the future to then take it out of our township and whittle away at it from the south and the north seems to go against what we have tried to do for so many years here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that comment. Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Annan. I live at 5011 Falling Leaves and Land. That's in McFarland. And we've been here, Kathy and I, since '89. And the population was around 3,200 in McFarland. Now it's over 9,000. And when I see what's happening and you hear, and I see it because I'm in real estate, people in the West, California, they're coming. And they got lots of money. Where that land from 1959 might look pretty nice. 30 years, I don't know, there might be a few of us around there. But I have a funny feeling money is gonna get involved in here. And even though you got the 2055 thing, and I give you credit, the town of Dunn, I love it. I've had a hell of a time getting land splits and stuff, but somehow I did it, you know, I mean, you guys are strict, so that part I like. And I'm half Irish, so I'm sitting next to this guy here, so I gotta really watch what I'm doing, but, and Mr. Hickey, but it's, you know, and there's water, you gotta have water. And we got water, fresh water, you know, it's close by. And you got the expressway right out here, which can bring right around Madison, and they figure projected, I think it was 2050, 180,000 new people. That's a lot of people, that's a lot of homes, that's taking up a lot of dirt. So, you know, I guess, I hope this works for 30 years. I know I talked to Stephanie on it, but just beware. They're coming from the west. And they're coming.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Jim.
Hey, no, I was just, one of the things you might consider is, you know, I applaud your efforts and work, I really, you know, God, the meetings. It's just maybe trying to get that notice out there as best as you can of the next meeting, whatever. You know, I know, you know, they're gonna put that puppy club in, down on 51, we got an email about that, God, you know. But I don't know that people really, in their heads, connected this, so it's, I don't know how you do it with signs, or I don't know, if they shoot out an email there, who knows what, but there's nothing wrong with over-publicizing any of these situations, period. You know, you can't go wrong, then people aren't wondering, is it closed or open? So, just FYI, thought for your consideration, and thank you for kind of what you're doing.
Great. Okay, thank you. Appreciate those comments. Anything else? And again, as Andrew said, this is a public hearing, you know, meant to provide some time and space for you to give us your input on this, and boards will be meeting after 30 days to consider this and have further discussion. So, you know, part of that is, that's why we kind of have tried to keep a little quiet here, because this is your time, not our time. Anything else? If not, I'll close the public hearing for the town side.
I'll close the public hearing for the village side as well.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is scheduling of the next meeting. Obviously, we've heard a lot about 30 days out. So, do we have some candidate?
We did as staff, Kathy and I talked about a couple dates. So the soonest that we could do it on the calendar that we saw was either June 5th or June 12th. Seemed like those were dates that weren't going to conflict with an existing town or village meeting. 7 o'clock. Would you like to host?
Sure.
Okay. The village is offering to host. We just need to verify what works for people.
I'm good with June 5th. And 12th.
Same.
Either one works for me.
We have an alternate meeting on the 5th, the 12th works better. for the
12th works better for you?
What's on the 5th?
OPEB. Mayor's Commission.
Oh,
Law's good with both.
yeah.
What time is the Mayor's Commission? 5 o'clock.
So we're looking at Thursday, June 12th, 7 p.m. at the McFarland Municipal Hall. We have a meeting. We'll see you there at 7 p.m. All right, that's it. You guys want to move to your last agenda?
Okay, is there a motion for adjournment in the town?
I move.
Second.
Motion second. Anything else? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.
Motion.
Second.
I don't know who said the motion, but
Miguel.
there we go.
Yep.
You're good.
The motion, guy.
Quick to draw. I think.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's that? The public club was a concept.